Hello, everybody, and welcome to Failcast F1, the F1 show that is scarily predictably on the money in terms of F1 news, gossip, and salacious gossip, whilst desperately driving in a mediocre fashion. And alongside me, my name is Simon, is Mr. Bulk. No, it's not. It's definitely Zero.
That's you.
That's me and myself. How are you doing, mate?
I'm doing well. It's good to be here with you and also you for for Austria, a track that I really enjoy driving, but I'm really bad at because it's all
Oh,
curbs.
oh yeah,
I,
that's a good shout. Yeah.
it's all curbs. I was doing some warm up laps before we started the episode, like I do, cheeky. And the way the circuit flows, it pushes you out onto the curbs. But as soon as you do that, you can see from the split timer in the top corner how much time that costs you. So
Yeah.
it's really difficult for me to be fast around here, like consistently fast.
I do love the circuit though. I was doing my
Yeah, it's one
career
of my favourites.
stuff. I was doing my career stuff a week and a half maybe ago, and I've forgotten who was in the chat. I think it was Chimpy Callum on Twitter. He's going, the circuit's so boring. And I was like, nope. Once you get into the flow of it, it becomes like a zen-like experience. Apart from curbs, but yeah, love it, love it, love it. How are we doing in our little championships before we dive into qualification?
You are still way ahead. 79 points to 43. I still can't forgive myself for the points I dropped in China, needlessly.
Ah, it's okay.
And
It's
in
okay.
Azerbaijan, where I managed to lose the win. Was it two times in one episode?
Yeah, 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 yeah. That was such a shame because you had you well had the legs on me over that around that track. You were a little specialist around there.
Apparently so, even though I hate it. Um, but yeah, it looks like we should be reasonably respectable in the constructors. Must be third, right?
Yeah, yeah. I can't seem to. Yeah, Cody, sort this out in the future. You can't see the constructors on. Oh yes, you can. Oh no, you can't. It's gone. Don't mind me. Yeah, no, you can't see the constructors in this thing we've got. But yeah, we are not half-assed.
No, we're using the full house, both cheeks.
Oh yes, firmly planted.
Only McLaren yet to score. Excuse me.
And
Shall
actually,
we?
yeah, let's dive in. I was going to say
Yeah.
we've had a patch since the last time
We
we
have.
came out onto the air, and the patch was solely about trying to put a temporary fix in for McLaren's performance issues, because even in this game, the Honda engine is broken. So if you're doing a career playthrough on McLaren, I know you found this out when you was doing it. There's a issue with the engine upgrades that they don't work properly, and so
Yes.
when you upgrade your car, you're going faster. But actually, even though they've tried to update it several times, your teammate never really does. So what they've basically done is put in a performance boost on the other driver if you're driving in the McLaren team to try and like boost up with you as you go.
Yeah, I finished my first season, I believe fourth or fifth in the drivers, and Alonso hadn't scored a single point.
Ah, Nando's.
I know. I'll tell you what else I realised as well, because I'm now onto round 3 of my second season. McLaren hate me for leaving.
Oh, really?
Like on the sexiness scale, they are the hardest one to get up now.
Boo.
I've got a bigger chance already of being signed by Mercedes or Ferrari than I have of being signed by McLaren.
God, corporate ban.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's just because I left, and it'll reset for season 3. Still a little bit bothered about the way things work in this game. Actually, I know we should talk real F1. People don't like it when we talk games, but just a quick one.
I know.
It's irritating to me that I can come in, even if I did super well. I don't think you should be getting offers from Mercedes and Ferrari for your second season. It just shouldn't be possible. I mean, if it really worked like that in real life, then Esteban Ocon will be replacing Bottas next year,
Yes.
and he's not. Maybe he should be, but he's not. So I think it's important for Cody's to maybe consider how the teams actually behave rather than just using an arbitrary score system. Because, I mean, until I'm like nearly 40, Ferrari won't be interested anyway.
And on a ever decreasing downward cycle of your F1 career.
Exactly.
Eating ice creams.
I have to be there for the ice cream, not for the wins.
Exactly.
What's up, my dude?
Hello, Zap. Welcome very much to the stream. Talking of Kimi Räikkönen, actually, I can't remember where I saw it. It was on Instagram, which is now a really good go-to place for very quick videos on F1. I like following Crash F1 for retro crashes.
Targeter with my son on the first iteration of this game, some 10 years ago with keyboard. Now we just watch you guys smiling face with open mouth. By the way, hi.
Hello, Ulf. Thank you very much for joining. Lovely to have some people in.
Yeah, it's very cool to have you here. Thank you for joining.
I was going to say...
Sorry, you're Instagram?
Yeah.
Part of the social media generation?
Yes, and talking of Kimi Räikkönen, what I didn't realise, they was having... Whoever this Twitter handle was, it was an entire Kimi Räikkönen advert day. And I didn't realise just how many bad adverts they've put him in, where he just cannot act to save his life. And it was... the one that made me giggle the most was him and Juan Pablo Montoya sitting in what looked like a doctor's surgery. It was like a nondescript office, but I was just waiting for someone to like get their chlamydia results through. And Montoya keeps going to him. He goes, "So, you ever get your car stuck in traffic?" And he's like, "No, what's a traffic?" And he's like, "Do you ever have to wait for a table at a restaurant?" And then he goes, "No, why wait for a table?" And then the joke of the whole advert, which I think was for HP, because it was when they were not at Williams, but McLaren as teammates. And then Montoya goes, "Have you ever had paper stuck in a photocopier?" And then Kimi goes, "What's a photocopier?" And they both go, "Wah, wah, 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 wah." And that's the end of the advert. I was like, I don't even understand. I feel like this should be in some kind of weird Japanese thing. Great.
Have you seen the one where he gets kidnapped?
That rings a bell.
It was around the time he jumped ship from Lotus to Ferrari, I think, and he was kidnapped in the desert or something. It was fucking stupid. But to be honest, there's been very, very few good F1 adverts.
Do you remember the Damon Hill and Murray Walker at Pizza Hut?
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Well, that was around the time that Gareth Southgate knackered that penalty at Euro 96, wasn't it?
Yes.
Because they did a follow-up with him.
Yes. And also, like, Mega Retro, because this... I'll find it out and I'll post it in the comments after this broadcast, but there was also found a Nintendo advertising Nigel Mansell's Championship Edition game, and it has... who's the guy... This might be lost on many people. I'm sure his first name's Simon. I can't remember his surname, but he's one of the... Oh, Rick Mail. Is dressed up in a Nigel Mansell moustache and keeps on going to different really old TVs in his house going, "I just love racing as Nigel Mansell, and don't you too, darling, and don't you too, kids." And they've all got Nigel Mansell moustaches too.
Work well for the brands.
I
Yes,
have
we
to
do,
say,
mate.
anything with Rick Mail, I love. Just instinctively. The guy was incredible, and his tragic loss to us all.
Yeah.
Although, to be honest, that sounds like quite a good one, to be fair, but also Jenson Button's stuff for Santander I quite liked.
Yeah.
Where he, the push the button stuff, where people would push a button on the ATM and then he'd come out and give them £100 and a hug.
Yeah.
That was quite good because it's capturing sort of real reaction, which I think is pretty cool. Anyway, I don't know how we got onto this.
Yeah, sorry about
that. We should be doing F1 news. Let's do some F1 news, then, shall we?
Yes.
Where do you want to begin this week?
Ooh, I think we should begin possibly with the "there's still no news at Williams," even though we think they're delaying the inevitable.
Yeah. Let's start with that. So, every journalist who I've come to trust, which I know is a dangerous thing to say, but everyone I consider credible, has essentially laid their cards on the table and said it's going to Sorokin. Now, there's a lot of upset about this for various reasons. Some people think his sponsorship money is a bit dodgy with the Russian connection. I'm not going to comment on that because I don't know enough to comment. It's entirely possible.
It's because they've sent you bad mail already.
Yeah. But a lot of people are being very, very hard on Williams, actually saying, well, I thought they were better than this. They've now got 2 pay drivers. And Williams had said throughout that it will be performance that decides the situation. Now, what I find particularly interesting is about people being upset about this is that most sources now agree that Sorokin was faster in Abu Dhabi, and not by a small amount. He was also more consistent, right? So if he's faster and more consistent, and he comes with 15 million a year, then what's the downside? Just because he comes with the money doesn't mean his performance in the test is rendered moot by that. I mean, to be honest, part of me still thinks I'd like to see Kvyat given the shot. We'll come to him in a bit. But it does look like it's going to Sorokin, and I think it's reasonable that it does, because particularly I noticed Alan Permain at Renault came out and quite explicitly said the seat should go to Sorokin, and I read a lot into that given how popular Kubica is at Renault, and how both those guys have been in the Renault stable for considerable time. Obviously Kubica more than Sorokin. The fact that Permain was willing to publicly put his cards on the table and say it should go to Sorokin, that tells me, that told me all I needed to know. And it was actually at that point, he said that just before our last episode, and that's the last episode where I said it's not going to Kubica, it's going to most likely Sorokin. And everyone threw a rage at me. I was talking to you before we went live actually about Polish Twitter going completely mental.
Yes.
If you go onto any news story particularly on Twitter about Kubica, and if it's anything less than glowing, I mean, it can be quite mild as well. People saying stuff. Well, we just wonder, given the extent of his injuries, can he ever find the pace he once had? And you think that's a fairly reasonable sort of comment to make. But then underneath in the comment section, you've got like 150 polls flipping tables. What the? It's very interesting because I've never seen about F1. I've never seen fans like that for any driver. I don't think.
No, not outrightly, because normally when you get the argument and the trolling, it's when you're busy comparing drivers off against each other, not having like such a steadfast community of like upright people just going no, just angrily.
We're fast.
We are fast.
I don't know how that happened, but
we must stop doing this.
Yeah, this is getting embarrassing now. We're going to have to change the name of the cast if this carries on.
I know.
Although everyone else was on super softs, so actually we're probably not going to get pole, but
no,
we are tickling the region, for want of a better term. I just realised as the words left my mouth how dodgy that sounded.
That delights me.
So I'm going to go out again just for fun. Just
cool.
So,
then I'll follow you around so that you get some airtime, because I know your stream's not working today.
It is not. But I want to get your take on this, because obviously Stroll, people have decided that he is there purely because of the money. Now, since last year, you and I have been a bit more open-minded about him, and given his performance at junior level, again, much like Sorokin, I see the money as a bonus rather than justification for taking him. I would say that he needs to show consistent improvement this season, or
Absolutely.
no matter how much money he has, he should be gone. Of course, it's easier said than done, and maybe Williams do genuinely need the money, but I certainly don't believe the Stroll family exercises the kind of power in the team that the internet seems to think that they do. Like there's the conspiracy that Kubica's not allowed the seat because he'll be faster than Stroll, which to me sounds faintly ridiculous, because that would make Williams in effect a one-car team, and there's absolutely no incentive for running a team that way.
No, it's not a good business model, is it?
And I mean, the thing is, it's not that I'm totally deaf to the criticisms of Sorokin as a pay driver either, because you and I have been talking about him since 2011, when he was supposed to go to Sauber, and he's been circling the toilet bowl of Formula One for many years now, and never quite taking the plunge. And it's not as if his junior Formula record has been exactly stellar.
It's not bad though, especially when you take into account like some other people. So, like I know we'll come on to the Merrickson later.
Yes, we will.
But he got higher than where he got to in what is now Formula 2, GP2 wise. So beat Haryanto, and
oh well, say no more.
Exactly, hold that door. And he's always been up in the top thing. I think we've almost got quite blinkered in a way that we've been spoilt for choice. That we've got Charles Leclerc wiping the floor in Formula 2 this year. The year before that, Pierre Gasly was wiping the floor. The year before that was Stoffel Van Dorn generally wiping the floor, and it was Sorokin that was second that year. And so there's always been like a big standout talent, and then like we've been in this weird era of Formula One where winning that junior series doesn't necessarily propel you immediately into something anymore.
Face, I hear the same about Ericsson when the discussion is up if he is God or not, comparing result with junkie car. Wasn't.
Yeah, no, we agree, and we'll cover Ericsson a wee bit later, fellow Swede. Not that we're Swedish. I don't know why I've decided we're Swedish, but they're at that level where they've done really, really well. But there's always been someone that's been like mega exceptional, and where they haven't been able to then get to Formula One immediately, it almost feels like hubris and naughtiness to then pick up someone that didn't win and then they get in immediately. I think that's what people initially was a bit like when Felipe Nasr got the seat at Sauber in 2015, because Palmer didn't when he won that year. We all know how that turned out, but
yes. Well, it's not a guarantee of quality, is it? Necessarily.
No, especially where we was having this chat just beforehand, where the formulas don't really match up, and now that they're about to match up, they're not going to probably in the future again. So it's kind of a weird window of you spend all of your junior career preparing for one type of racing to then have to learn another one when you get to F1. So maybe people like Sorokin, Ericsson, Nasr to an extent excel in an F1 type of driving, because I remember Kamui Kobayashi.
Perez.
That was tardy by Perez. Kobayashi's junior Formula, not that great at all. Came into F1, mega impressive. Gone elsewhere into WEC, started binning it again. You have different ways of different formulas have different strengths and weaknesses. I suppose if being a good driver means that you can be good at everything, but it's never that way. And then I guess my only other comment around sponsorship is Sergio Perez, the man that just so lightly tripped you up, is the powerhouse that he is because of the amount of sponsorship he brings with him alongside his talent. I remember Rubens Barrichello took $5 million a year to Ferrari. Massa brought
Niki Lauda was a pay driver.
Yeah, exactly. No shame and no flies on that dung. Yeah, so I don't think sponsorship and a pay driving is a detriment anymore. Never has been.
I mean, the thing is, I get it because I'm thinking more towards like late '90s here when you had guys like Ricardo Rosset.
Oh yeah.
Kicking around, or
but even he won like Formula 3000 champion, or he was second in Formula 3000, which was normally your route up. It's just that he couldn't translate it going higher.
And who was that Israeli businessman who tested for Minardi?
Oh, Chanok Nissany.
That's the one.
And then now his son's doing it as well.
Yeah, because he was there purely because of the money.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, also let's not forget there are other exceptions, right? If you look at Marc Genet, who used to be an accountant.
Yep.
And then he came into Formula One. Yeah, he wasn't stellar, but he's had a job with Ferrari ever since.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of the most respected test drivers in the industry. I don't think coming with money... The problem is people always assume if you come with money, you can't get there any other way, but I tend to see it more as, well, if you can get the money, there must be a reason you've got the money.
Yeah, because people believe in you one way or another. That could be actually... Like, you could be 1 or 2 tenths off a really, really fast driver, but come with 15 million, and the ability to work a crowd so that you can pull in more sponsorship as a good little side parting. Yeah, it is. You've got to look at the bigger picture of not necessarily what's in and out of the car. Like David Coulthard, I think, has been quite open with that, where he was like, I know I was never the fastest guy, I'd never admit it, but I was able to get where I was because I worked hard, had a good public ethic, and would whore myself out to every corporate event because that's what McLaren needed me to do. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has the place, right? The thing is, I think it's just that the criticism of Williams comes down to them having 2 drivers that carry that label.
Yeah.
And I think part of it as well is that idea that Williams are still a top team, which in my mind I still consider them a top team, but they're really not.
No, midfield.
And so I don't know, it's kind of difficult, but I think Sirotkin's worth taking a punt on. But
yeah.
You know, the biggest criticism...
Players complains about HT News comments where all drivers are trashed if they don't win, even if they are rogue.
Oh, okay.
I didn't get most of that, actually.
Sorry. Ulf in the chat was just saying, even when you play Motorsport Manager, everyone just decides that if you're not winning on your first race or season or anything, everyone gets angry and just decides you're rubbish.
It comes to that type qualified comments, face with stuck out tongue. Sorry for the voice, interrupt you he.
No, it's all right. Type in the comments, it's all fine.
Yeah, please do. Actually, it's interesting that comment happened because I got a comment exactly like that on the start of my Motorsport Manager playthrough that dropped because of all my technical problems, but I can't remember who it was. Someone said, well, you can win the next race. And I was thinking, no. no, I can't. Yeah, so obviously the criticism is that they've got 2 drivers that you would say fell into charitably more or less the pay driver category. Sirotkin is kind of an unknown quantity. Stroll, as you and Martin Brundle have both said, is very feast or famine in his first season. But I don't think... Sorry?
I was going to say, Stroll for me was immensely disappointing this year because of how well he'd done in the previous category on the way up, and the name's now escaped me. I'm going to say it's Formula 3. Or Renault Formula 3, and I expected so much more from him, and I think actually Williams should be disappointed in what he's done. And you're right, he needs to show improvement, otherwise out the door.
Well, I mean, the thing is the only reason I'd be willing, because I agree it's been a disappointing season for him.
Yes.
But for me, it's those flashes. You know, that those odd races where he shows how good he can be.
I feel like he can do well if he's at the front to begin with. He can't. It was his racecraft that was shoddy around other cars. Because you could remember at Canada where it just looked like he was scared to overtake people and then wildly throwing it off like in avoidance of the car. It just seemed all a little bit amateurish. And then you've got that old argument.
I mean, that could be first season nerves, of course.
Yeah.
But I think he's definitely worth the second season. Mostly off the back of his drive in Azerbaijan. I hate to judge drivers based off a single drive, and I try and avoid doing it. But I think there's a case to be made that
and Monza
he showed there. Yeah, Monza as well. He showed there what he is technically capable of when the wind's blowing in the right direction, and he's had his shreddies or whatever. Pay me now, shreddies. It just sort of seems to me that he's worth another punt, particularly because he comes with the money. And this is where people get upset, right? Because the money starts becoming a deciding factor. But it all helps in Formula One. It all helps.
I play some games online, mostly strategy/manager games there.
Oh, okay.
Especially
there's an ongoing chat in the chat.
Multiplayer.
Continue on.
That's good. That's what it's for.
Yeah.
So the other thing, of course, is people are saying, well, why not give it to Wehrlein? And that segues into us talking about the Merrickson.
Yay! Would you love a bit of Merrickson?
Because I just realised the drivers we want to talk about are all people who have been or are in the frame for the Williams drive, so we can make a big topic out of this. So, you and I were talking before we went on there, and I know we both agree on this, so I'm not going to pretend there's any level of debate here, that neither of us would give it to Wehrlein. I understand you correctly. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Ericsson, smiling face with open mouth.
See.
And people, you don't have to look far on the internet to see people going completely crazy that Wehrlein hasn't got this seat. I'm standing by my prediction. He's going back to DTM. You'll see him in DTM in a Mercedes back drive, but in DTM. For me, I don't even know why it's a matter of argument, because he did not wipe the floor with Ericsson. And there's some people who seem to think that he did, but if you look at his finishing record, when both cars finished, it goes 7-5 to Wehrlein. But that completely discounts the fact that the Merrickson was running with a 10-kilo weight disadvantage. In qualifying, their average difference was under 0.2, which is more than accounted for by the weight disadvantage. Now, when you look at those statistics in the cold, hard light of day, and you ignore the fact that, Wehrlein picked up some points, which seems to be the pivot on which everyone's argument for him getting the Williams seat sort of hangs, it doesn't look very good for Wehrlein, unless you say, well, everyone's been underestimating Merrickson, which is what you and I have been saying.
Yeah.
Or, that's it really. Which is it? Is it Merrickson is underrated, or is it that Wehrlein had a very, very sloppy season, really? And I think, honestly, it's the latter. I don't think Wehrlein had a bad season. I just don't think he wiped the floor with Ericsson. And that's what he needs to do to be backed by a works team like Mercedes.
Absolutely.
I mean, can you imagine if that had been Max Verstappen?
Oh, exactly. And it's interesting because, like, immediately I remember at the start of the year when Giovinazzi had that seat, and everyone was like, "Oh, Giovinazzi's just within a couple of tenths. Oh, pressure's on Ericsson."
Combo will a success, I think. Ericsson's F1 experience and Charles' tenacity and his excellence in keeping tyre lift.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I'd say with something about Pascal, I think, is the I got didn't get chosen over at Ocon for the Force India drive, so I'll go off to Sauber, strop it out a little bit because I had the stupid Race of Champions accident. No, and it may not be that way at all, but it just comes across as someone who just maybe was coasting a little bit, and then would kind of pick up a little bit when things were like there's a sniffer of a point or a decent result. I don't know. It's funny how you get perceptions of things based on very little. But when you look at people, I'd just imagine Ericsson being a team player and a hard worker and part of a team wanting to move things forward. And I got the impression that Pascal was sitting there going, right, I'm here until I get something better, babaz. Even though they're both probably looking for something better. Do you know what I mean?
To be honest, Ericsson does seem to be quite popular in the team, actually. But I mean, the thing is, like,
Look at our times.
even within Sauber, I haven't seen my times yet. Actually, I'm just coming in. Even within Sauber, I would have made the exact same decision that Sauber have made this time.
Yeah.
Because allowing for weight, Ericsson was the stronger driver somehow, and and that tells me that, you know, if he comes with money as well, fuck it, take him.
Yeah.
And I know. I think also Ocon has completely vindicated that decision, because I was ambiguous at the start of all this. Because I did used to rate Verline quite highly. I think everybody did. And I hadn't seen enough of Ocon that, if you remember, you and I wrote it off completely to Verline's attitude. Because, I mean, maybe you knew more about them than I did, but at the time the decision was made, I was not familiar with Ocon. Oh, wow.
An easy sulker when it goes sideways.
Yeah, Si, we are super tight.
I know. That is virgin
That's
tight.
juicy. Do you think we need to go out again?
I think we're all right. You know. I mean,
I've put too many laps on my tyres, I think, but
I think we're okay with that. Because we're 7 tenths ahead of Massa. We're well all right.
All right, then I will press on. So at the time, I couldn't put a cigarette paper between them really in my mind, and it was just one of those things. And I assumed that Ocon got it by being a nicer guy, easier to work with. But I don't know, based on comparing Verline to Ericsson at Sauber. And I know it's very easy to say this because he was in a Sauber, but I get the feeling that Verline would not have performed at the level Ocon has in the Force India. Like, places reversed.
No, I agree.
And that's pure speculation on my part. I'm not sitting here, and there might be some Verline fans out there, I know they do exist, who might be spitting coffee everywhere at me making that comment. And so I'm going to hold my hand to Twitter, complete speculation. It's complete speculation. But it's just a very strong feeling that I have that Verline could not have gone toe-to-toe with Perez at the level that Ocon has.
No, I agree.
And it's not like Ocon's had a completely blemish-free season, right? We know there has been some contact where there shouldn't have been and some lost points, but his consistency otherwise has been metronomic. 43 points in the first half of the season, 44 in the second half. I mean, that's intense. And those guys know that car. Like, the team and the drivers.
Yeah.
They all seem very comfortable with that car. Like, Force India are sticking parts on that thing all the time towards the end of the season. And we're not missing a beat in terms of the performance.
No, every performance everything was an upgrade, wasn't it? There was no misstep in any of it.
Yeah, so. and that massively impressed me for a team that, again, to reiterate, now has the smallest budget on the grid. Very, very impressive. Anyway, I'm digressing. So, you know, we would not have given the Williams seat to Verline on that basis. He just didn't outperform Ericsson at the level that one would expect based on how he's seen within the F1 community.
No. And I guess for me as well with Verline, I was not impressed. I expected him to blow away Haryanto, and on one lap pace, it didn't happen. Over a race distance and racecraft, yes, it did. But I always kind of thought, he's not blowing Rio away, and Rio was supposed to be the joke this year. So it was, that year rather. So that kind of made me go, to begin with. So, yeah.
Things that make you go, Rio Haryanto, top of the list.
Quote that.
And so then, you know, the other option that was bandied around was Paul di Resta. That for a while you and I thought it would go to, but it seems that they've quietly dropped him by the wayside.
Thank God for that.
And I think that was a right decision.
Yes. Nothing wrong with him particularly, but he's just boring as hell.
Yeah, which made him the obvious choice for Williams in many ways. But
exactly. The only thing that makes me slightly sad on that is that when I'm watching the Sky F1 stuff on a stream online, because I don't have access to Sky properly, I would quite like it if he could stop saying Mercedes. That's the only downside of that. If he's not in the car, I have to listen to him saying that all the time.
But to be fair, that would go very well in a Martini advert.
It would.
Just saying. There's marketing potential there.
Love it.
And then we come to Daniel Kvyat. Now, a lot of people, I'm seeing on the internet a much more mixed reaction to Kvyat than I was expecting. So you've got about 50% saying, what a ridiculous notion, he shouldn't even be being considered. And the other 50% saying that Red Bull, agreeing with us basically, that Red Bull was not the place for him. Yeah. That Kvyat isn't a bad driver, it's just the pressure. He folded under the pressure, mentally, basically. He couldn't perform at his best.
Yeah.
Now, I that's been my opinion since he started having these problems. If you look at his pace relative to Ricciardo, if you look at his pace relative to Sainz, even right up till the end, his one-lap pace was pretty phenomenal, actually. It was, during the race, he was making stupid mistakes, getting into accidents he didn't need to get into. And that's what cost him the seat. And again, that all bears down from pressure, right? That he felt he had to get a result. He was pushing harder than he arguably needed to. And Franz Tost has said as much, actually, that he was pushing too hard, and that's why he was making the mistakes he was making. And you and I said 6 months ago, that wouldn't he make a great Williams driver? Because much like Felipe Massa, coming out of Ferrari, the pressure was getting to him. Williams is, for all its faults, and it has many, is actually a family team in the true sense of the word, and they do seem to bond with their drivers on a different level. Like, they even take what they call a family photo each year with the drivers and the engineers and stuff. It does seem to be a genuinely pleasant environment in which to work, and they don't seem to be hard on their drivers. I can't remember a time
not publicly
they were really.
No, especially that with Patrick Head no longer throwing spanners around. Yeah,
that's what I was going to say. Like, once Patrick Head stepped away, it seems like they've been very patient and supportive of their drivers. I don't like the way they've treated Felipe Massa.
No.
And I still think it's stupid we're having this conversation. I think they should have given Massa one more year to help mould Stroll.
Yep.
But they made the decision that they made, so whatevs. I think they could do a lot worse than to take Daniel Kvyat, and apparently Helmut Marko agrees.
Yeah.
Would you like to pick up the story at this point?
Yes, because Helmut Marko has basically gone not like hitting dogs when they're down, or just human beings when they're down is generally a Helmut Marko special. But what he's managed to do is like a massive trifecta of not only blowing enough smoke up someone's backside after they've been dumped because they're not good enough to then say that he was great enough, but he's also then gone far enough to say Kvyat is better than our current duo of Pierre Gasly and Brendan Hartley, which when they've already dumped Kvyat, kind of makes you think, well, who are they going to have around for 2019 then, or even 2018 at this rate? Because my goodness me, they chew through people like absolute. It's like a vegan going nuts in some kind of nut forest. It's bizarre.
I didn't think it was possible to kick yourself in the testicles.
And seem to enjoy doing it, comment after comment.
Yeah, but he does all the time. To me, he has to go. He has to go.
He's a liability, and there's a lot of talk saying about he's actually building up to an exit for 2021, like himself personally. Whether or not Red Bull will follow or whatever is another matter. But he like. Just like Franz Tost, you'd probably want to pop him in like a playpen that's just full of soft edges and just watch him like disintegrate a teddy bear. He just is a public liability problem.
I threw in Peterson then. And shunt champion J Hunt over Maldonado. Smiling face with open mouth.
Okay. we can discuss favourite drivers, although we will probably go back in time just like you have there.
Yeah.
Well, but the issue go for it.
Sorry, hold that thought for just a second, because I did hear the name Maldonado,
Yes.
and I just wanted to chip in that in one of my many Twitter beefs this month, someone was criticising the inclusion of someone like Kvyat in the list and said, name me a race winner that, other than Kubica, that Williams could be talking to, and it was Pastor Maldonado.
Yeah.
And anyway, sorry, go on.
Is PDVSA still a thing? Because I was watching an IndyCar race and I was like, oh, they didn't just sponsor Pastor, they was in lots of motor racing.
I believe they're in a lot of political trouble.
I started enjoying F1 back in
okay.
early 70s. Sorry. Smiling face with open mouth.
Early 70s, excellent. What was I going to say?
So,
Do you know
sorry,
what?
yeah, you were going to...
I wouldn't
You were gonna say something
mind
about Helmut.
seeing Pastor back. I know you would cry, but
I would.
he'd be value for money. If Stroll is not going to get the results, at least put Pastor in and get him the crashes instead, because they'll get airtime one way or another.
I mean, that's all PDVSA were doing, right? They were just buying spare parts.
Yeah.
They were paying for the chassis rebuilds that Pastor was inciting. But yeah, you were going to say something about Dr. Marco.
And
his
yeah,
drivers.
it was just me having a rant, really, that he's got to the point where being hard-headed and one of those like stereotypical German/Austrian personalities where at least you know where you stand and get me to the chopper and all of those kind of things. You can stick them all in and they would make sense, but he's gone one step too far and it's now a detriment, I think, to the brand. And I don't want to be all like brand political and be like, oh, everyone should follow their own rules and this, that and the other, but he just comes off like an utter knob.
Well, I mean, the thing is as well, like I think he probably sees it as like applying pressure to the drivers to maintain standards.
Which I get, but then at what point does that then become bullying? And at what point could Kvyat say, I've had a mental breakdown and I'm going to take you to tribunal?
Well, I mean, the thing is that they bundled Kvyat out of the back door. They wouldn't let him say goodbye to the team. They took him to the motorhome, fired him, and kicked him out, yeah.
What do they think he was going to do? Missile the thing?
I have no idea what they thought, mate. Who even knows what goes on in that guy's head? But yeah, they bundled him out, wouldn't let him say goodbye to his engineers.
Christ.
And I don't know, but for me, the reason it's such a problem is that the drivers he's got now have only just got their foot in the door.
Yeah.
To turn around and say, I mean, his exact words were that Kvyat is more naturally talented than both of them. Now, I don't know if this was like his attempt at a public apology for the way Kvyat was treated, trying to help him get his foot in the door at Williams, or if it was a kick up the arse for his current drivers, or if it's just that he's completely mental.
All of the above.
It's not the right way to deal with your drivers. I don't think it's very disrespectful to people like Hartley, who is a two-time world champion in WEC. It's disrespectful to Pierre Gasly, who is one of the hottest properties in the sport right now.
Who have been nothing but shafted, really, haven't they? Their whole end of the last year, I don't think done either of them. It might do them good longer term, but I don't think that helped anyone at the end of last year, and none of that could be put on any of their own blame. It was just they having the most torrid time of reliability and drama and things like that, and we're just
wasn't it Marco that kicked off all that drama with Renault that nearly forced Toro Rosso out of the season?
Yeah
prematurely.
Yeah, and then Tost went nuts afterwards, but I think it was spurred on initially with round we go. Ah, I knew I was being greedy on that curb.
Just a second, I'm going to change my headphones. 1 minute.
Ooh, front row though.
There we go, much better. I can't seem to hook it up. The one session where it really counts, and I can't seem to hook it up.
No.
I keep touching the curbs. Like
Kvyatting.
I'm on the green, and then I ruin my lap time. So I hope I've got some tyres left. I'm going to give it another blast.
Well, we should have an extra spare set of ultras because we didn't use them in Q2.
You are correct.
Ultratage. The alternate strategy
where-
pays dividends again.
What position are you?
2.
Position 2. I'm in 6.
I'm not sure if I'll be able to do that lap again though.
You're going to ruin my qualifying, Simon.
No.
I can't come out the garage because your guys have been out there with the hairdryers.
Oh no.
How long is left? Oh, 4 minutes. Then we're
You got
good.
ages. You got ages. It's all good.
Because given how I know how close we can be, I don't want to qualify 4 positions down from you. That's not acceptable to me. But I mean, all this does do one good thing, which is there is a fake Helmut Marko Twitter account that everyone should follow because it's fucking hilarious.
Ooh. Ooh.
And every tweet is like organising the invite for Christmas dinner. I'm going to invite Daniel Kvyat so I can drop him, and things like that. It's very cool.
It feels very Trump-esque.
And my favourite one was before, I think, Brazil, and he was like, I'd like to officially announce that Daniel Kvyat is back in the car for Brazil so I can drop him after qualifying. And things like that. It's very cool. But I mean, the thing is as well, like, criticising the way Marco has delivered the message is fair enough, but the message itself isn't too awful. I think it's probably disrespectful to most drivers. I don't think it's outright unquestionably true, but at its core, Kvyat, I think, is good enough for Formula One. He just needs to be in a team that isn't a soulless meat grinder that fires drivers if they don't comprehensively beat their teammates, or they have fantastic drivers with nowhere to put them, a la Carlos Sainz.
Yes. But then still don't want to sabotage.
Oh God, I just realised that's probably what he's doing. He's playing mind games with Hartley and Gasly so he can fire one of them and bring back Sainz.
Oh no. Please no.
Because it's going to be a tough one for Sainz this season.
Well, yeah, because
trying to build a rapport with Renault and being at a team that really wants him, knowing all the time that he has to go home after the sleepover.
Aww. It does remind me of like one of those like pre-sleepover adoptions, and then actually like the maternal mother turns up. Is like, no, you need to go and get my crack. It's all a bit cringeworthy, and I do feel like it's a Channel 4 documentary waiting to happen. And I wish they would just let him go and just say, do you know what, we'll take, I don't know, 5% of all of your earnings from now on in Toodles.
Well, I mean, I know why they won't. It's because they don't believe their other drivers are at his standard.
Yeah. Oh.
And all this really comes down to the fact that I think we've all forgotten as well that Ricciardo is on the market.
Yes. Where do you see him going long term?
It's hard to say. To be honest with you, though, Ferrari. Which seems odd because, for once, Ferrari are doing the young driver thing, which is very unlike them.
But he has been in F1 for 4 years. Oh, Ock off.
Yeah, Hamilton's just ruined my lap. I was 4 tenths up, and now I'm a tenth down because he just moved on me on the braking zone.
I'm going to get him in a minute as well. Never mind. We can pretend this is a practice run.
Well, actually, I'm really upset because I could have closed the gap to you, but it's the same. Like, if you don't do your final laps in qualifying on a certain cycle, you just get caught in.
Contract-wise, Chapman said.
You just sort of get caught in all the traffic, the end of session traffic, and it's
better anyway.
Just 30 seconds left in the session.
Okay. I've got one more lap to try and close the gap to you.
That is interesting, actually. What Ulf was just saying, and I wonder actually if I don't think this goes on so much these days, but where a team goes to try and like actively help out another driver, because we was having that with Merrickson. People were saying, "Oh, he's getting all the parts first," and Verline's car is fundamentally slower. I think it's much more difficult to get away with trying to favour one driver over another with like weird balanced shifts and stuff like that. I think in a corporate world you'd get caught out, and it would be like big dramas for people.
Well, also there's literally no incentive to do it.
No.
I mean, like in the world of business, and it is a businessman's world. This
Yes.
you don't release two products and make one of them out of inferior plastic to make the other one look better.
Yeah.
Like, you just don't do it. It doesn't make any sense. Oh, oh!
What happened there? I saw you go pole. Oh, I'm pole.
You jammy sod.
All three of us went over the line back to back and just went faster and faster. 3,000! Oh my god. I feel a bit mean because I feel like my turn 6 was probably a cut.
Oh, god damn it! Ugh. Do you know as well? I could have gained an extra 10th as well, but I lost it on the curbs. That's our first proper pole shootout we've had.
Yeah. I'm slightly sweaty now because I didn't think I'd done it.
Me too. I can't believe you snatched pole from me. I thought I'd actually got my first career pole.
Oh, I'm so sorry. And stupid Hamilton would have got it anyway. There. Kind of.
Still though, beat Vettel, Raikkonen and Bottas, so can't be too unhappy about that.
What I do like though is that either side of the harsh cheeks in the middle is a Lewis Hamilton, who've literally sat on Ham.
He's literally the arsehole.
He is the arsehole. Excellent. I tell you what,
Sorry,
choosing
Lewis.
the Haas this year was a gift that just keeps giving.
I know, it really was.
Oh dear.
Thank you, whoever that was.
Still off.
Don't worry, I'm sure we'll mess it up like last time where I was going to win in Azerbaijan and I binned it. Has
been, yeah. We can be the has-beens.
Smiling face with open mouth.
Oh, we appreciate your company. Tyres could be a bit.
Strategy to do?
I'm gonna try for a one stop, but I think it may be a problem.
Well, see, this is telling me that I can do a one-stop switch to softs at lap 14.
Same, but lap 15 for me. But I don't know. I can't remember how slow the softs are.
Yeah, I mean, part of me is thinking.
Can't I just go long on the super
having
softs?
a stint on the ultras?
Yeah. I'm gonna go one stopping, but I'm gonna aim. Actually, I wonder if it will let me. Oh, actually, it's quite harsh, the wear. Why is that harsher than I've ever remembered in my entire life?
The thing is, like, part of me really wants to go two-stop. It's only 5 seconds slower, apparently, but you can make that up by being on the ultras. But it just... I can see myself at the end of this race coming away with like 2 points when I could have come away with 8 because of that extra pit stop.
It depends if the AI are going to go for 2 or for 1.
I imagine they'll all go 1.
I
Can I compliment your live stream by comparing the excellent YouTuber Arrow Elvis F1 multiplayer live stream?
don't know. Oh, thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
We don't find you comparing us to that at all. Compare away, sir. Toff. Yeah.
I'm going to two-stop it, Simon.
I'm going to two-stop it as well, and I'm trying to see.
Look at you up there on pole, being all smug. I see you.
Sorry. It's quite.
I hope the cars around me are not on ultras.
Everyone's on ultras except us.
Oh no!
In the top 10.
It's going to be a messy turn one, Simon.
It'll be fun. Right, I'm two-stopping as well, I think. But I may flip a coin when it all goes horribly wrong when Jeff gets angry.
Yeah, I'm sure Jeff will chime in and tell you that it's wrong.
Cheers, Jeff.
Like the other week where it was pissing down with rain, and he's like, I really think slicks are the option.
So we listeners just watching a drunk party. Sorry, arrow over.
I know you mean, yeah. Yeah. What was it you had with Jeff?
It was pissing down with rain in Brazil, and he kept telling me, "Oh, I think it's time to change to slicks."
Much better.
Well, thank you. We are charmed, and it's very good to have you with us.
Yes.
Where are we on our news agenda? We had some more topics.
We did. Pirelli, 2 seconds a lap faster.
Yes, that's right. The new compounds which Sorokin and Kubica were testing. We're going to gain another 2 seconds a lap, which normally I wouldn't get excited about something like that, but given how much faster the cars look this year, being 5 seconds a lap faster, another 2 seconds wouldn't hurt, would it? I've actually been really impressed this year with how fast the cars look on camera.
They look so aggressive,
it's been a while.
don't they?
Yeah, it's been a while since you could really feel how fast the cars were.
Yeah.
Because particularly end of the 2000s, they had so many aero elements on them. You know, like 2006, 7, 8. That they were incredibly stable all the way along, and they never really looked to be in trouble, did they?
Yeah, because they were so grippy.
Even with the groove tyres. And I have to say, I am enjoying the move back to slicks as well, more than I thought I would. I didn't realise how much the sport was missing them, to be honest. I think I got so used to groove tyres.
Yeah, no, I agree. There was, again, Instagram. Pirelli on there put out a nice little graphic where they were comparing speeds from 2014, or it might have been 2016 actually, to this year, and it was specific parts of Suzuka, Silverstone, Spa, like all the classic corners where you used to think that they were really, really bombing it. And everywhere was at least 30 kilometres per hour faster. And I was like, wow.
The removal of the shark fin and the fork in the Reef edition.
Oh, that's a good point. We'll come to that then. We'll stick that in as an extra thing. What is our opinion on the shark fin removal?
Because it was vetoed, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, we can come to that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. I mean, we've already talked about the new compounds and the way everything is soft, apparently. Why have we got a yellow flag?
Yeah.
No. This is terrifying. Stay back. Oh, I see you quiet now. Yeah, but it's fucking terrifying. I don't trust the AI. Oh, through you go. Oh, I nearly followed you through. I also nearly followed through.
Out your arsehole.
Yeah, it shouldn't be so scary to race the AI in a video game, but it just is.
I get extra sweaty when I know it's that you're around as well. Is that you up to second then, mate?
It is, but at the expense of my end plate.
Oh no.
Smiling face with open mouth.
You don't need that end plate anyway.
No, well, apparently not, because the car's handling fine. Oh well, now
You've got
this takes me back to the Caterham Kings season.
Yeah.
You
Rip those Caterhams.
you ahead of me, and me doing the Ben train.
Channeling you in a trolley. There is a proper train
Channeling my
behind
trolley.
you as well.
Do you know, most people be insulted by being compared to Jarno Trulli, but I'm genuinely flattered.
Ah, good old Jarno. I wonder what he's up to
I
these
know.
days.
Bless his heart.
Running in
Probably filing for bankruptcy after spending all his money on a Formula E team and then realising they couldn't develop their own powertrain. The tyre issue is an interesting one. I mean, like I said in the last episode, and I don't really want to spend too much time on this, I'm prepared to trust Pirelli. It seems to me that, as I said last time, the new compounds are there to enable a more tailored tyre choice per circuit, and to remove the need for tyres to have a much wider operational window. So that's probably where they're gaining a lot of that 2 seconds, to be honest, by adjusting, the super softs to be more super softy around the tracks they were specialised for initially, and removing them from the rotation for tracks they were less suited for, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Fastest lap, look at you. Hamilton's got the Durs on me.
I
I
tell you
can't
what,
seem to get away from him.
we'll know what tyres they're going to and whether they're two-stopping because they'll be pitting first. I've just
That is
realised.
true. Oh, they'll have to 2-stop because they're on ultras.
Yep, probably. Unless they go ultras and then softs, that would be about the only thing they could do.
Right, I
But
need
then,
to be
like,
faster.
proper kill it.
I need to be faster because I'm under threat into every corner right now, and I'm not enjoying it.
They're looking at your hearthole.
Exactly. Grim. just get away from me. It doesn't help they're on a faster compound of tyre, I suppose. I'm trying not to beat myself up too much about it, but looking how fast you are compared to me, I'm watching you ride off over the horizon, not a care in the world, leaving me to play tail gunner.
Aww,
Story of our relationship.
it's okay.
Let's move on then. I want to talk about McLaren really quick because they have announced their goals for next season, and their target is to be the fastest Renault-powered team. So they've set a goal of beating both Renault and Red Bull in the Constructors' Championship next year.
Cool.
So to me, that's saying third in this championship.
Yeah.
All things remaining equal is their target. Depending on Force India, actually, which I never thought I'd ever hear myself saying that, but if Force India can deliver another step forward, which everyone keeps saying they're not capable of it, and then they do it again and again, then because that's got to be their goal now, right?
Yeah, because they've done fourth.
Third.
Now it's got to be third. Yeah.
They've done fourth 2 years in a row, and this year they really did fourth.
Yeah.
It wasn't even close. Third has to be the target. And I want to take a
fourth out
moment
of
to
a
wish
top
them
three.
all the very best with that.
Yeah. I don't mind them finishing fourth again if the gap's closed, and they're genuinely out of it's a top four team battle. But I don't think it'll be four anymore. I think it should be a 6-team fight with an occasional Williams popping in.
Did you see I found some pace at last?
Yes, you got it.
Not enough to get Hamilton away from me though.
Boo.
It's just enough to bring me a little closer to you. I don't want you to have an easy ride of it.
I'm sure I won't.
If you insist on winning, I'm going to make it difficult. Yeah, I mean, I think that is based on how their chassis development went this season. I think it's an interesting goal. I think McLaren versus Red Bull, assuming chassis level stays about the level it's been this season, which you can't really take for granted, but assuming it does, I think that would be a very, very close battle. And Alonso versus Verstappen.
Fantasy mod McLaren got a selfish, Alonso and zero reliability Honda engine. Isn't it a little evil to do? Hilarious anyway though.
Yeah, I guess for me with the Red Bull and the I'll look down and read that comment because I couldn't quite hear it.
I was going to ask you to.
I'll read that when we're on a straight. I was going to say because for me, I know the Mercedes is the fastest car engine chassis package, but Red Bull and McLaren look like they have the best chassis, and both have kind of tried to lay claim to that. And so for me, that's all about. Oh, I don't know, mistake there. It's all about making sure that like who is king of the chassis builds, because for me it's down to those two teams, and if Renault are able to deliver a reliable step forward package, that makes 2018 actually look really, really sweet on paper, because if Mercedes hopefully still have a little bit of a diva of a car, maybe Lewis Hamilton a little bit bored, Bottas crying a little bit, about to do Kvyat revenge, Kimi not really interested, and Vettel rage quitting everywhere, that makes 8 cars at the very least up for a podium every race.
Yeah, it does actually. It does. I don't know. I mean, I think we're starting to see the shine coming off Mercedes, to be honest. I know they had a fairly strong finish to the season, but it does feel like they're...
It's a natural evolution, isn't it?
Yeah, it's cyclical in Formula One. It always has been. Like a team will... a team will dominate, but it's always a transient state. The other teams don't stand still. I would say it's very probable that Mercedes won't be quite as sharp as they have been. I wish I could say I trust Ferrari to pick up the pieces of that, but I think this year they've shown that they're capable of producing a car that is arguably the best across a wider range of conditions and still manage to do nothing with it.
Still managed to lose it one way or another.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Ferrari have been the most interesting team for me this season because of the way that it should have all worked and it didn't. And and the thing is, like, they change so much. Like, it seems like every 6 months I read about them firing everybody in the engine department and starting again. And then at the start of this year, when they looked to be the fastest team, they must have been thinking, shit, who was it we fired that did this?
Yeah.
Because wherever it was, they weren't there anymore.
Bring them back. I wonder how much that must... Because they're always saying about, oh, we need to do better, we've built a platform, we need to go forward. If they're busy sacking everyone, how does that ever give you continuity to be able to know what works well, what doesn't work well, and get a working ethos in? Because
well, it doesn't.
You'd just be chasing your tail all the time.
It doesn't. And the other thing, of course, is that they're now losing all that talent, right? Because all the guys they fired have been hoovered up by Aston Martin.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
Or like the key ones have been hoovered up by Aston Martin. So if those were the guys that had cracked something that they hadn't unlocked before being fired, then you've got to say it's looking a bit tasty that those guys have been hoovered up by a company that isn't currently providing powertrain solutions to Formula One, but seems to be very keen on the idea of doing so. I don't know. I do genuinely... we've gone off topic again, but I do genuinely think McLaren are capable of taking third in the Constructors if the wind blows in the right direction and the engine doesn't keep exploding. And I am relishing the idea of Ricciardo and Verstappen going up against particularly Alonso, but also Van Dorn.
Yes.
I think this presents a chance to really see what Van Dorn's made of.
Yeah, absolutely. Quietly impressed with him in the second half of the year, but I'd like to see more of him going wheel-to-wheel battle-y, if that makes sense, because I can't remember much of what he done. He might have done some really good stuff, but it just doesn't stick out in like the pantheon of overtakes. And the F1 channel has been busy doing like top 5 starts, top 5 this, top 5 that. And he features nowhere on anything. Despite...
Well, he's had a bit of... He's had almost an anonymous season. I know it hasn't been totally anonymous, but...
No.
Like, comparatively to the people that we talk about week in, week out, I mean...
Any info on recent racing performance? Super
excited about that.
Yes.
And actually, Simon, I wanted to ask you about that. tell you what, let's embrace the comments for a moment.
Okay.
Talk about Alpha. I'm really excited about that. It's a brand that I've got a huge amount of affection for, and I think it's Ferrari hedging their bets as well.
Yeah.
To some extent, because I believe they are serious about potentially walking away from the sport, and this enables them to keep some sort of brand presence in there if they did take the nuclear option. I don't think they actually will. I'm sure Liberty will do something to stop them leaving. But I think people who think Ferrari won't leave are perhaps not looking at the big picture, because historically when Ferrari have threatened to walk, I would have been right there with you saying there's nowhere they'll go. But these circumstances, I have to say, leaving Formula One must be quite tempting for the shareholders. Anyway, I think the new livery on the Sauber looks great.
Yes.
And I think this will pay a huge dividend for Sauber in the long run, because it's a show of faith, right? It's a show of solidarity. It's a show of support, that suddenly Haas are no longer the preferred Ferrari customer team, and Sauber returned to that position that they've always held.
Yeah. Because even when they had the Petronas engines, which were Ferrari badged, there was more going on behind the scenes there. They would have development drivers, this, that, and the other, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, they've always been the Toro Rosso to Ferrari's Red Bull. Up until Manisha Kaltenborn took over the team, and then she seemed to have soured that relationship quite badly.
Like all her relationships.
Yeah.
Don't open a dating site, Manisha. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think, combined with the great work that Frederick Vasseur is doing at Sauber, I actually think we're going to start seeing Sauber creep back up to where they belong. I think people forget just how good and consistently good Sauber have been in their history. And again, I keep saying Formula One's become quite reactionary, and they have. Not just the sport itself, but the fans of the sport. And I would say there is pretty clear evidence that Sauber have the infrastructure and the staff. They just didn't have management unlocking that potential. And I mean, honestly, if you look pre-2012, you have to look pretty hard to find a consistent period of time that Sauber were underperforming. So I'm keen to see them get back up there. What I do remember is a few weeks ago, Si, you did mention that maybe Maserati were going to tie up with Haas.
Yeah, and
I saw they're going into Formula E as well.
Yes, they are. It's an interesting one, because I just think, like Haas as a business model, I know we've been quite sceptical on it for a while.
I was going to say, have your tyres gone off, mate?
Very much so. But you're pitting.
I sure am.
Good man. Yeah, well, I am struggling like a moose.
You should have come in behind me. Probably quicker to double box, right, than lose the time. Who'd have thought me being less efficient on my tyres during quali would pay off?
Yeah, I'm just driving like a new tar at the moment.
I'm hoping all these cars around me haven't pitted. I know Sainz has. He's on the softs in 6th. Have I come out ahead of Hamilton? Yes, I have. Oh, excellent.
What's he on, out of interest?
I can't see because he's 2 cars behind. There's a gaggle of 3 cars fighting over 6th position, led by Ocon. He looks like he's on softs,
Okay.
but it's hard to tell. So he's not pitting again, but I'm so much faster than him now, being 2 compounds softer, that I'm feeling good about this 2-stop strategy, Simon. I am.
Good.
I'm managing my fuel much better as well. I'm not carrying around a huge amount of extra fuel. I keep turning up, turning down. It's going well. Yeah, I mean, I didn't actually hear anything about Maserati tying up with Haas, but if that does happen, then the positivity I'm feeling about the renewal of the relationship with Sauber sort of gets soured a little bit. Because I see them choosing Sauber for this tie-up as a reflection of the fact that Haas will not bend to Ferrari's will on certain issues. Particularly on taking Ferrari young drivers.
Yeah.
And also, I think Ferrari are as keenly aware as you and I are that Haas probably aren't going to be in the sport much longer.
Yeah, yeah. And they'd be more privy to a lot of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes with that, wouldn't they? So.
Well, I imagine, if you meet with Big Gene Haas once or twice a year, you probably get to hear him speak his mind. And, if his carefully curated comments in the press make you and me think he's going to quit Formula One within 3-4 years, then I imagine what he says behind closed doors has told Ferrari, well, we can't hitch our wagon to this horse.
Ooh, Raikkonen literally drove through me because I broke for the pits.
Ollie's just gonna do us racing soon, I guess.
Yeah, that's what we think. Ulf was just saying in the chat there, they'll probably just return to US racing.
Yeah, I imagine so, to be honest. The thing is, I don't want to slap him down too hard, because Haas is the one prediction that I know for certain I got wrong, because I didn't think it was going to work out the way it has for them. When I heard that they were having Dallara build the car, customer engine supply, customer gearbox, I thought back to HRT.
Yep.
And Virgin Racing.
Yep.
And to me, the numbers didn't look good. I don't know what happened at Dallara that they managed to build a competitive F1 chassis, but they did, so credit to them.
Because Dallara are great when they own in a complete formula and they make a spec car that can do certain things, but put them in a competitive car against like other makes and manufacturers, and they generally seem to struggle, I find.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's because they build their cars to cost, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what you've got to do. You've got to build a good, entertaining racing car that's cheap enough to get the contract for these single spec.
How is this on Ultras, by the way?
Series. Who's on Ultras?
Hamilton.
Oh, Hamilton. Oh, nice. Are you fourth?
Yes, to get past Raikkonen out the pits.
Behind is 1.5 seconds.
Vettel is second on softs.
I'm watching the scrapperoo that they're about to have. It's looking quite juicy. And then Raikkonen's behind on softs in fifth and dropping away. So I think, like, we might have to do some overtaking in the last stint again, but I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's worrying me now. Like, can I, on the super softs, get past a lot of these guys again? But I'm feeling pretty good so far. I've got 3 seconds over Vettel.
So, that's why I've done an extra couple of laps, because I'm going to take my ultras longer and I'm going to try and go ultra.
Oh, you cheeky monkey.
But
That could very easily gift you the win.
I don't know if it will work.
I do like episodes where it's between you and me for the win.
That was the fastest lap of the race. Keep this up.
I mean, for me, Hamilton's out of it. I know he's ahead of you on track right now, but he's not got the pace to compete with me, and I think you'll get by him.
He just went round Vettel, round the outside at turn 1. I'm quite impressed with that move. Well done, AI.
Advise moving to mixed fuel to mix 2.
So yeah, back on topic and back onto the news, I suppose.
Yes, sorry.
We'll round out the Sauber topic. That I really want to see him do well. I think the chassis should be a step forward because they've been working on it for a very long time. And the board seems to have released money for a lot of new staff hires and to reactivate some facilities they stopped using.
Mm-hmm.
I know they're turning off some other facilities and taking support from Ferrari on a temporary basis. And I know some people will be critical of that, but I look at Force India, where they are today, and I mean, that's how they got there, right? They didn't stop producing certain components for the car. I didn't hear that.
Someone's saying they miss Lotus.
I miss Lotus as well. I didn't think that I would, because I've got a fondness for Renault as a works team. Simply because you can always trust them to do well eventually.
Yeah, they always come
I
good.
I wanted someone to shake up the order. I didn't think Lotus were capable of doing it in their guise, but I do actually miss them, and I miss the black and gold.
Yeah, I do. But I like the yellow bananas as well. I think I want both liveries out there. What I don't want is a Renault Lotus and a Lotus Renault. That was horrible. Can we not?
Yeah, it was. What I would like as well, I mean, ideally, I'd like to clone the Enstone team 3 times, run them as Renault, Lotus, and Benetton.
Ah, Benetton, the United
Because
colours.
I miss the Benetton cars as well. I think they had, when they moved away from yellow and green to blue and green.
Yeah.
I thought some of their cars were actually quite striking.
Yeah. Agreed.
And also, I miss Rocco Benetton.
The family member who just wanted to look great.
Well, he did. He looked fantastic. But what I loved about Rocco Benetton, and I know we're derailing again, but if you go back and look at when Rocco took over the team from Flav and Dave Richards, you could tell he was an F1 outsider because he was just honest.
Yeah.
And
you don't
you'd
go
see
to a
him
press
in
conference and
interviews.
say something.
Yeah, like I remember seeing him talking to Louise Goodman. I think it must have been 2000, maybe. I forget. But he was talking to Louise Goodman, and Alexander Wurz had some kind of problem in the morning. And this was before they banned. It wasn't active suspension. There was something on the suspension that they banned around the late 90s.
Okay.
Do you know what that was?
No, I don't actually.
But basically, Benetton had a workaround for it, and she said, "Oh, does that mean that's failed then? You know, was it broken?" And he goes, "Yeah, looks like it." And you think, what team boss would say that? Would go, "Oh yeah, we tried this experiment. It was expensive, and we don't think it's worked out." And I love that about him, because the thing is, not being direct to the press, that stops your rivals and competitors getting inside the team somewhat. But it also stops the fans from knowing what's going on.
Yeah. I think a lot has been said around how Ferrari deal with their stuff at the moment, isn't it? They don't speak to anyone.
I mean, because I don't know if chat agrees with this, right? But for a sport where a large amount of the attraction for particularly the old school fans is the competitive engineering element, right? That the cars aren't the same, that it's about the car and the driver and the team as a whole, and it's that makes it, in my mind, a complete championship. It's very hard as a fan to keep a real grip over that element of the sport, because it's often a throwaway comment, right? That maybe Brundle or DC will say something like, "Oh, there's a new front wing on the Sauber today," but that's not a comprehensive list of everyone who's brought a new part, and they never talk about it. So it becomes really difficult, other than ultimate race finishing position, to really get an idea of who's out developing who.
It's an interesting. Oh, I agree, says Ulf in the comments. We've got quite a few people watching at the moment, so you're welcome to join in the conversation, obviously. I would agree, actually, as well. But I also think that comes back to the fundamental debate, and it's what I think Liberty are trying to address slowly but surely by working out their magic. Is what is the I guess percentage points of how much do I want to focus on a sport as a driver, how much do I want to focus as a team, how important is that technical know-how and knowledge, and what and when do I want to do that kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Because like I would love having Ted Kravitz awkwardly tell me for 10 minutes what's new on everywhere, and actually have it as this week in our engineering conference, everyone showed off what was new on this car.
Yeah, I mean, because the thing is as well that I think if you open it up like that a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously I don't want open book stuff, right? Because I understand why teams don't share this information.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It costs millions to develop, and you don't want to give other teams a clue as to what you're doing. Like, I understand that completely. But I think showcasing what you've done also has benefits, right? Because it starts to remind fans who very often get annoyed by the technical side of F1 as much as they enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you end up with stuff like, you know, Red Bull's period of dominance, or last year with Mercedes.
Have I missed something? I swear I can see you guys 1 to 2 must be seeing things.
Yeah, I know it's mental, right?
It's a strategy problem. It will work itself out, Ryan. I'm sure. Oh, right, I say.
We're through the looking glass here, mate. Welcome to the paranormal world of the Twilight Zone.
This is one of our people that will be wants to join us for our race, by the way. So.
Oh yeah, do you want to cover that really quickly, because we're super excited about that.
Yes, we will be organising our little fun community race. We aren't sure any exact
Please
details.
use the correct title, Simon.
Oh.
It's our Failcast F1 non-denominational holiday extravaganza. Trademark patent pending.
Subject to availability. Available in all good bookshops. Yeah, so what we're going to do, we have a PlayStation community because it will be taking place on the PS4. That's if you can join is the Failcast F1 community. We're going to organise an actual proper time and date for it, and then get everyone in for a good old shindig. We'll have a vote on what tracks people want to do, length of races, that kind of
A
stuff.
Christmas gift.
Um,
Smiling face with open mouth.
Exactly. It is a Christmas gift to all. And yeah, we'll get that all sorted out. Probably looking at doing it after Crimbo, even though it is the non-denominative blah 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 blah. But yeah, we're going to do it. We promise.
Well, we've been wanting to do it for years, right? Because we keep saying, the thing is, the problem is if you start sucking up to people who watch you come across as a bit slimy, right? But we've always been very grateful that the people who come and watch our streams are generally top-class people. In fact, universally top-class people. People who are actual, genuine F1 fans who love to talk F1 with us. And we never have trouble with trolling or people being dickbags or whatever.
Exactly.
And the thing is, we tweet with a lot of you, actually. and we do talk F1 with you, but I think it would be, and we've always said it would be cool to be able to get everyone in where you don't have to talk to us by typing. We can just all have a communal chat, open a crate of beers, order some pizza, and drive Monaco at night in the rain in a 1996 Williams.
Yeah.
So genuinely excited to be able to do that with people, because we get some fantastic emails and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have the power, much like Black Box in the 90s.
Oh yeah. I got the power.
I feel so old, but I'm glad you got the reference and didn't leave me hanging.
No. It is all good.
So what was the other question we got earlier? We were talking favourite F1 drivers.
Oh yeah, so favourite F1 drivers. Also, outstanding question we have was did we agree or not agree with the shark fin?
Let's tackle shark fin first, shall we?
Yes.
What are your thoughts?
I've got used to it being there, so I don't necessarily see it as a problem. I think it looks a bit faffy and naffy when it's wobbling around and looking a little bit like they've made the car out of jello. But if they do something nice and incorporate it into designs and stuff like that, I don't see it really being an issue one way or another for me.
See, I'm torn as well, because aesthetically I don't like it.
Okay.
It's not that I hate it, but I think the cars look better without it than they look with it. That said, I also appreciate that they, once you start messing with one piece of aero on the car, you can accidentally mess up the aero on all these other elements of the car.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's ultimately why it was vetoed, right?
Yeah.
Was it Red Bull who vetoed it or McLaren?
I'm going to say McLaren.
Yeah, it was one. It was one or the other, and I was surprised because whoever it was vocal about getting rid of it at the start of the season. And I thought,
McLaren.
oh, you've changed your tune.
Yeah.
But then, at least credit where it's due, they were honest about it, because in the reasoning they said, well, we've made it work,
Yeah.
so we don't want to get rid of it. I was like, well, fair enough. I understand. It's ultimately the FIA's fault that they're there anyway, because the shark fin is a loophole in the regulations. The FIA never wanted them there, but they also didn't legislate to get rid of them. And they need unanimous agreement as per the rules, and they didn't get it. So, I know it's much a muchness, right, with the new logo. I have an opinion on it, but like, we have such bigger fish to fry.
Exactly. And did you see actually our wonderful Will Buxton going absolutely ape crazy at I think it was a Sun journalist who was basically saying Liberty Media is taking things in the wrong direction and it's all Americanized and this logo blah 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 blah. And he was saying about how it actually it's taking a long-term view. Shut up. And it was rather refreshing and honest and awesome.
But again, like I liked a lot of what he was saying, but also I did find myself torn down the middle a little bit, because I agree in part with the Sun journalist in that too radical a change too quickly and you can turn off your existing fans. Imagine how you and I would feel if they introduced sprint races, or they got rid of qualifying, or they entered reverse grids, right?
Oh shit, I've spun going in the pits.
No. Oh well, at least Ryan's happy now.
Yeah.
Normal service is resumed.
I tell you what, Vettel and Raikkonen were only a couple of seconds behind me still, and they're not pitting. They're going to have some real tyre problems.
Yeah, I'm catching Raikkonen very, very quickly, but I think the race win might go to Vettel.
Yeah.
Seen the Al Peterson movie.
No, they've put on old tyres.
That was our last stop.
No.
I'm
Really?
ruined.
Oh, mate. Maximum failcast.
Back down to earth. There we go.
I don't know, Jeff. I think in the next iteration of the game, Jeff should tell you. Are you sure? Are you sure you want to put on scrub tyres if it's going to do that?
Yeah. Because actually, it does make sense. I did use this for a lap in Q3.
You can still make it to the end, though, right?
It'll be very touch and go, but we'll get there.
If you go low fuel mix,
I'll be right.
their line just hit me under blue flag conditions, so good to know the AI is still working.
So where were we? Sorry, that took me all by surprise.
I think this is a Ferrari 1-2, mate. I think this is a Ferrari 1-2. Yeah, we were on the shark fins still.
Ah. And the logo, wasn't we? Yeah.
Yeah, well, about the changes to the sport in general. I mean, I agree with Will Buxton, right, that it is a global sport entering a digital age, right? And I'm really excited, as you know, about Liberty's stance on eventually moving to stream races and build a streaming platform.
Yeah.
I love that because it annoys me that you can't watch Formula One in English outside of Great Britain, America, or Australia, New Zealand. Because they have a strict territorial licensing policy from the 90s, when the world has moved on and you've got sports like Formula E that, I mean, fair enough, Formula E is maybe not popular enough to command huge TV budgets, but they have recognised the benefit of just streaming the series, and you can reap benefits from that in terms of greater viewer satisfaction and also greater exposure. I mean, I think F1 has suffered from being behind a paywall.
Yeah.
legal viewing numbers, which are the ones that attract, don't look very good. And maybe as many people are watching as always have, but they're just illegally streaming, but still, you can't take those numbers into a sponsorship meeting.
No, you can't.
So, yeah, it's difficult. I mean, don't get me wrong, there is stuff about the sport that is a bit stick in the mud and needs to change. I think the way it's delivered to fans is one of them.
From the 90th on YouTube.
Yes, we love that YouTube channel as well. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry,
I mean,
I misread that. I thought he was talking about Variety Man F1
Yeah,
channel.
I love that dude, whoever he is. I should contact him and get him on the stream sometime.
Yeah, we can just bow.
No, really. I mean, I watched the '96 Monaco Grand Prix the other day, just to see Ligier on the top step of the podium.
Yes.
Oh damn it! I'm gonna lose out to Hamilton here.
4 seconds.
Let's.
Yeah, it'd be awesome if they did put more on the. I do like what they've done with the YouTube channel. I don't necessarily agree with all the comments where they're all
It's lovely viewing.
like Liberty Media has saved F1 and all of this rubbish. So it's always the truth's always somewhere in the middle. But I do like the idea of a streaming platform, and I know we've covered this before, where we was like, right, bundle in Formula 2 and GP3 into a package. They can stick, I don't know, the FIA Formula 3 or Formula Renault Formula 3, whatever it's called, because they stream all of their races live on YouTube already, and that proves really, really well. So
Yeah, and you know, you and I have been enjoying stuff like the McLaren movie and the Williams movie. Like, stick some documentaries on that. I would pay a monthly subscription for that.
Yes.
I'm not even saying stream it for free. I'd pay if the delivery was good, if they had good hosts.
Yep.
You know, if you had, you know, I'd pay good money to have Brundle and DC on the same channel again.
Oh, you'd love the battle that's going on in front of me. The Merrickson is all over the Verline.
Good man, good man.
F1/F2 is a good combo TV-wise.
Yeah, we both think so.
Yeah. Stick F3 and GP3 in there as well, because that was an amazing season.
And I think it benefits both. It benefits both somewhat, right? Because it's a great way to generate hype for guys coming into Formula 1, because they should, if they follow the correct trajectory, have been in F2, so you should already be familiar with them.
Yeah.
Probably hyped for them coming in. But also, it helps boost viewership for F2, I would imagine, which enables us to... I mean, we all will benefit from a healthier junior Formula E ladder. I genuinely believe that.
Yeah. And think of like the extra programming that you can get out of, like at the moment, people will only know of, say, George Russell from one single interview that they may have got on Channel 4 or Sky F1, if they don't pay attention to the lower Formula E stuff, because once he's won the title, then they'll be like, oh, so you've just won GP3, and now you're doing a practice session in the Force India. Who is this guy? And that you could do like a whole this was your season in review, that kind of stuff. There's so much, and it wouldn't even cost too much to re-edit because it's all recycled material. Sort it out, Liberty.
You know, they could also bundle the esports in there as well, because that actually got better viewing figures than I ever dreamed that it would.
Yes.
I mean, I know stuff like, you know, StarCraft, League of Legends, things like that. Games I never play, actually. Well, I dabble in StarCraft too. Yes. I know they get huge viewing figures because there is like a
F2 drivers names now because of this viewing style. Roland Leclerc. Who they enter F1 then?
Yeah. Wouldn't it be nice to have them as like at least the purists' household names, but actually having access to it? Sorry, continue on there.
You know, the esports series got much better viewing figures than I ever imagined that it would have done, and I'm pretty sure that they're going to keep running with it. I think Cody's need to do work on it if they're going to use it for that. Mm-hmm. But you know, all kinds of things. There's so many great F1 podcasts out there as well. They could take these people. Actually, for once, I wasn't referring to us. But yeah, sure, why not? No, I mean, I'm sure people listening are probably familiar with. I'm going to do a plug for them because their content really is good. Formula1blog.com has a great podcast that I listen to every week with Todd, and he's got a whole gang of people that he rotates in and out. One of them's a professional racing driver. I love that podcast. I think it's brilliant, and at the moment it's supported through Patreon. Why not put together this online platform and take them on?
Yeah.
Take them on and put that as part of the bundle. I just think there's so much great F1 content and potential content out there. They could easily do it. And again, I'm really surprised how well the esports did, and I think it shows that Liberty are going in the right direction. I still don't trust them not to do something completely stupid, though.
Yeah.
I haven't shaken the feeling that they could do something that does undermine the sport. But for the moment, I'm reserving judgment because the moves they've made so far, I've been pretty happy with. Stuff like handing the technical side over to Ross Brawn, I think was the right call.
Yeah.
Anything to add, or should we spend the last lap on our favourite F1 drivers?
I was just going to say, what was your opinion on Lewis Hamilton arriving in anything but a black tie to the black tie do to collect his trophy? And is your granny missing a pair of curtains? Because that was an awful attire, even if he was going out clubbing.
Oh, well, it's just Lewis all over, isn't it?
Yes.
I honestly can't say I was surprised to see it happen. But I had no particular opinion on it, just as I don't have any opinion on what anyone else wears either.
No, that's fine.
I'm within stroking distance of Raikkonen, but I'm not going to get past him. I can see Raikkonen and Vettel, but I can't get past them. So we're on for a Ferrari 1-2. It was too good to be true, wasn't it?
It was too good to be true. I feel like the two-stop may... I still feel like it was probably the right move. I've done the wrong tyre compounds and stayed out too long.
I'm happy with my strategy, although I do think I would have won the race if I'd been one-stopping.
I don't think my tyres would have lasted. I think I'd have chewed through them. I'm too aggressive around this track. I can't help it.
Yeah, actually, now I think about it, at the end of my first stint, my tyres were already completely gone. So, yeah, you're probably right, actually.
No Bottas. Don't wake up now. You've been in a slumber the last 10 laps.
Still, podium, I'll take it.
Yay! Well done. Closes in the points as well between us.
Yeah, so
on club going attire as being both the former DJ and disco club owner.
Is it a Formula 1 disco club owner? Oh!
Well done.
Would you do spin me right round again? Bum, 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 bum. Do you remember that as the ITV intro?
yes, I do, and it was awesome. Okay, favourite F1 drivers. I guess we're talking all time.
Yep.
Right, well, I have to say, the driver that I first was really super into, Jean Alesi.
Good choice.
I got into F1 1990. I was
smiling face with open mouth.
Okay.
I got into Formula 1 in 1989 or 1990. I was really small. But 92 was the first year I was really super aware of things, but already by then I knew that Alesi had been scintillating in the Tyrrell. And being a small child, Ferrari, it's all about Ferrari, right? The red car. So when he moved to Ferrari, I was super excited. And I remember 94, 95, the first seasons I can remember all the way through clearly. And Alesi was huge for me. Boyhood hero. Damon Hill. Also, because I was very young, you know, I was only 10 when he won his world title. And those memories stick with you.
Aww.
I was never a huge Schumacher fan. I think it's because he just dominated too much. Who else was I a fan of? Fisichella.
Yeah.
Huge fan of Fisico. Fredson as well was big for me. Oh, and Mika Salo. I always loved Mika Salo, even though he never really did very well.
It was very promising. See, again, because we're similar age, very much the same area brought up him.
And Clay Regazni for me.
I love how my phone butchers every word of that sentence. So that was Peterson and Clay Regazzoni, for anyone who couldn't understand text speak.
Oh, Clay Regazzoni. Fucking love that guy and his tash. Sorry, go on, sorry.
Indeed. What was I going to say? So, yeah, same era. I will chuck Jean Alesi and Gerhard Berger onto that list, but mainly because, see, I guess for me, when I started watching F1, because I was grown up on it on Sundays, because it was, you'd have your roast dinner, then we'd sit and watch the F1.
Yes.
Whilst after roast dinner and still feeling like pregnant, we'd then be handing round the peanuts, or me and my dad would be anyway, and Twiglets, to graze until we then had like cheese on toast for dinner. That was how my family rolled. So for me, I used to pick out names that I thought was funny and then just decide to like the driver after. So Gerhard Berger. My mum and dad would be on martinis, so Pierluigi Martini, which was then how I became a Minardi fan. I was a huge fan of Olivier Panis. I was a big Katayama fan, but it was just names that I'd pick out, and then, because I love back of the grid teams, I'd follow those people. In most recent years, Button.
Button too.
Just because of his personality, more than actually like driving ability / skill. And then Massa kind of took over that mantle when Button was being a bit like moany and couldn't be bothered. And I have an appreciation for Alonso and a respect, but I don't know if I'd call him a favourite. And I'd say the same for Schumacher and co.
My feelings on Alonso are exactly the same. I have to say, recent years I've been a big Carlos Sainz fan. I really do rate him.
Yeah.
My son was fun.
I was also
like farting in the cellar.
That is the best. That's the best comment.
10 out of 10. I love that.
That's my new Swedish word of the day.
Obviously, I love the Ericsson these days.
Yes.
But thinking of more recent drivers, I'm with you on that. And Ricardo as well.
Oh God, Ricardo, yes.
Of him. I liked what you said about Panis and Berger, actually, because Panis, I remember particularly 97, the start of his 97 season was phenomenal before he got injured. And I always remember with Gerhard Berger watching him 97 qualifying at Monaco. And his lap was phenomenal. He didn't get pole or anything, not even close as I recall, but the lap was, you know, when you see a driver just on the edge and they show all their talent and control. In that Benetton, which was a car that was up and down all season, he really impressed me. That qualify session stays with me the same way Robert Kubica, 2010 Monaco and Singapore, I believe. Or was it 2009? No, he was injured in 2010, wasn't he? So was it 2011, his first season out?
Yeah.
I forget.
11 onwards he was out.
It was either 09 or 10. I remember Singapore and Monaco, his qualifying laps gave me goosebumps. They were that on the raggedy edge, but not amateurish. Because there's a line, isn't there, between a driver taking the car to the limit and looking out of his depth, and being on the limit and just being skillful. You know, Senna's usually the one that people refer to for that.
Driver with Spanish name, starting with M, was it Montoya? I like this driver too.
Yeah, Juan Pablo Montoya.
Montoya, his Williams years, I don't think his McLaren years I ever found him particularly scintillating.
Clash of culture, that, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was. I think he was stifled by McLaren the same way
Yeah.
Ferrari stifles someone like Raikkonen.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm trying to think who else was interesting. I remember thinking Ricardo Zonta could have been more than he was.
Yeah, because he had such a great pedigree all the way to Formula One, and then just like went nope as soon as he arrived. And then I remember when Jordan gave him some tries, and then Toyota, and I was still like, why? Why is he back? He's doing the same. It's like he got into an F1 car and was just like, no, I don't like this, but then would do well elsewhere.
I mean, the thing is, like, I remember him at Spa with Jacques Villeneuve, the first year of the BAR, and the car was a dog. And they both had a bet about taking Eau Rouge flat. Mm-hmm. And they both binned the car spectacularly. So, like, in the morning, he'd watch Villeneuve do it, and he was like, oh, well, I can take it flat. And then he binned it as well. And that gave me a sort of respect for him at that point.
Especially as he's already broken an arm earlier in the year in Brazil, didn't he?
Yes, he did. So, at least he had a kamikaze attitude. Who else did I really enjoy watching? I'm trying to answer this comprehensively. It's really hard to have a favourite because I don't think I do.
No.
But I certainly have favourites. I always... Like pre-Ferrari Rubens Barrichello as well. I think him at Jordan and at Stewart, he was excellent. Yeah. And I've already mentioned him, but Frentzen. I'm going to put Frentzen in there because whenever he was in a car that wasn't or shouldn't have been competitive, he always dragged the best out of it. His Sauber years, particularly at the start of his career, I thought he was excellent. He did great at Jordan. Yeah. It's funny, isn't it, how two drivers dropped by Williams then went on to do so well at a different team. Yeah. As teammates. To be honest, there's so many drivers.
Winking face.
Fangio. Never saw him in action. No, that's the thing. Sorry. So it's difficult to. It's an interesting question because some of the stuff that I find out, like I was watching the Ferrari documentary. It's branded the Ferrari documentary, but it's actually about like 5 drivers between 1955 and 1960, and so, it doesn't feel like you're I know it is Formula One and you're watching it, but there's almost like a mental barrier for me in that I can't get as invested, even though I appreciate it and respect it, and I'm like, ooh, until I've had like hours and hours of watching them in a practice session and stuff like that. It's really weird because otherwise I'd say like Jackie Stewart would have been a really, really like an interesting one because of what he done to change the sport in terms of safety and things like that. But because I wasn't around and on it at the time, it doesn't matter to me so much, I guess.
well, the thing is, like, I've seen him race. I've gone back and watched some races and qualifying sessions, and it was superb. But I know what you're saying, right? Because you and I mean, this is why we have such a nuanced view on someone like Ericsson. Yeah. Because the majority of people will judge a driver on his last handful of races. Or on the prevailing opinion, right? You see that with Massa, the way that he had quite a good start to the year, but then he started getting in the way of people like Vettel, and then Twitter's tearing him apart and saying he's useless, he shouldn't be in Formula One. And you think, well, you're taking a very reactionary view there, whereas I think one of the few things we're good at, because it certainly isn't playing the game, is looking at a driver from a sort of a helicopter view and saying, like someone like Bottas, for example. He's doing. He's not doing what he needs to do to be at Mercedes, but if you look at his record at Williams, he's certainly good enough Formula One. Whereas I think there's a tendency in the sport to have someone like Bottas get into that top seat, not perform, and then say, "Well, get him out of the sport."
Stop watching for 10+ years.
I didn't catch that.
Officer's putting in, I followed Peterson as a teen until he died, stopped watching for 10 years after.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine actually that, particularly that area of Formula One where you were losing people and the media was, we saw that with Senna as well and Ratzenberger in '94, right? And the media suddenly paints this very macabre picture, and I imagine...
Yeah, because do you remember Wendlinger when he then had the accident at Monaco and was in a coma, and the front page of the newspaper was "Stop this madness" or "Stop this murder," and it was a picture of him unconscious in the Sauber down at the chicane. It becomes a witch hunt, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a tendency to romanticize this era that we're talking about. You know, particularly around the time of Peterson's death. By saying, well, it was men were men, it was real racing, and people were dying and stuff. But I don't think that's a selling point, to be honest.
No.
I don't want to see people die. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy a good accident as much as an next F1 fan. Like, guys on the edge, taking it too far, accident, changes the race completely. You know, it's not that I don't want crashes, but I don't want anyone to be injured in a crash. And that's a very bizarre combination of things to wish for, but it's the nature of Formula One. So to close it out, I don't think either of us has a singular favourite. I would say, to round out the topic very quickly, most underwhelming drivers, I'd certainly put Ralf Schumacher in there. I don't know how he stayed in the sport as long as he did.
The surname.
Yeah, probably. So I don't know. I think over time our views on drivers and teams tends to come out anyway in the wash. But
yes, no fatalities / lasting injuries.
Yeah.
exactly. No one wants to see that happen. And I keep forgetting about Jules Bianchi.
Yeah.
Because I still think Senna was the last F1 fatality, but he wasn't. And people, I think also people in general don't consider Bianchi an F1 fatality because he didn't die at the race. But
no, it was such a protracted incident, and I guess you get like the fashionables where it's like, oh, I'll put a black banner 17 on Twitter, and there's me, I've mourned for it next, and because of the media furore that was Senna, anyone else gets is less, isn't it?
I think you're right, actually, that the press didn't go mental about Bianchi the way they did with Senna and Ratzenberger and Wendlinger.
No.
Because it was a year between the accident and his death.
Yeah.
So it was basically a footnote.
Yeah.
Someone just made a comment. Did we forget a topic?
So don't forget the fork in the view topic, but I don't know what that means. I tell you what, whilst we just rounding off on fatalities, probably before we round out this stream, not fatalities and injuries. News: Alex Zanardi is going to be competing in the 24-hour Daytona in 2019.
Oh, excellent! Excellent.
So, from pure adversity, what that man does. I tell you what, if anyone needs a documentary done about them, I would absolutely love to know more about how he's gone about his life pre and post accident, because I bet that'd be a fascinating story.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many F1 documentaries still to be done.
Oh, Halo. Ulf was talking about. We can cover a Halo in another episode.
Yeah.
So that's quite a chunky.
Yeah, I mean, we have to round out this stream because we're about to overrun on our time.
Yeah.
But we definitely will cover it next time out, and I hope all you guys will join us again. It's been great to have you with us. Just rounding out the episode, your fastest lap was pretty handy there.
It was, but I was just looking around the times. Sebastian Vettel done his fastest lap on the last lap on the softs, and I was only faster on those ultra softs and everyone else on super softs for about 3 laps, and then I was back to your pace and then slower where the tyres went off. So I'd done the wrong strategy. You was on the right one.
Still wasn't enough though, was it, to get the win?
Oh.
I mean, I finished 6 seconds down the road from Raikkonen.
Never mind. But you closed on the gap in the.
Let me take a look at the standings.
4th and 7th.
Oh, we're a little bit closer together now. I mean, not as close as I would like.
There's a Bottas and a Perez between us, but look, we're both ahead of the Red Bulls. Don't know how that happened.
And we're still third by quite some margin in the constructors.
It is Force India-esque in 3rd position there.
Delightful.
A golf ahead and behind. We'll have that.
Delightful. Well, mate, Thank you. It has been an absolute joy and a pleasure.
As always, thank you so much, and thanks to everyone that popped in and out throughout the stream. A special thanks to Ulf there for staying throughout. You get to get yourself a takeaway as a thank you for that. And we'll be back for
I
F1.
wish you both a good holiday.
Oh, thank you very much. Same to you.
Yeah, thank you, mate.
And we'll be back in 2 weeks anyway for our non-disclosed holiday edition. I keep forgetting the name that you called it.
Non-denominational.
That's it.
Marketing.
Edition, yes. Where we'll continue, and hopefully there'll be something F1 juicy gossip-wise to talk about. Otherwise, it could be quite a quiet episode, but I'm sure you can tour us up some topics anyway. But yeah, that'll be on Saturday, the something, 4 o'clock.
It's the first Saturday after Christmas, between Christmas and New Year.
Oh, there we go. Between Crimbo and New Year. 4 p.m. UK time. Adjust for where you are in the world. Cool. Well, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Take care. Have a great end to your weekend.
Bye.